Hi, everyone. I'm with Aisha. Aisha is not a TSW patient, but has seen a lot and has a lot of experiences. And I'm excited to be talking to her today because she's the caregiver of a friend of ours, Sol. Well, it's her brother, but a friend of mine, Sol. And yeah, I think with that, I'm just going to jump right in. And Aisha, before we talk about all the stuff that, you've had to work with your brother so closely on and your family on, can you talk a little bit about who you are as a person?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me here, Ali. I'm so excited to be here and catch up with you. But yeah, I'm Aisha. I'm from the UK. Before TSW entered our lives, I was living and working in Canada in environmental management and sustainability. So this was like a whole new thing for me to get involved in, and it's been like a big life change. But yeah, very all consuming. So yeah, I
Yeah.
threw myself fully into this world when my brother got TSW, and that's what brought us together too, and brought me to this community.
Tell us about, you're younger than Saul.
I am younger than
How
Sol,
much
yeah.
younger?
2.5 years younger.
Okay.
But we paused his age when he got TSW. We were like, nope, you're not aging anymore. We're just gonna
Yeah.
pause the clock. And so technically now we're the same age.
Okay, I love that. Tell us your version of Saul's eczema and TSW story. Like, how did we get here?
Yeah, so Sol has had eczema ever since he was a baby, and was being prescribed steroids all his life, topical steroids all his life to deal with that eczema.
He's how old now?
He is 29 now.
Okay.
Yeah, turning 30 soon.
Wow.
So yeah, he's been using steroids or topical steroids at that point for 26 years. And he was living in the mountains in Whistler and flared up quite a lot. And the doctors were just giving him more topical steroids and giving him higher potency topical steroids until he was noticing that it's just making his skin worse and worse. And he woke up with that kind of like the initial signs that we see of like red skin and your eczema just spreading and it not looking, it doesn't look like what it used to look like anymore. And that's when he realized that there's a problem with the creams. And I think that's when he started to look into all of this a bit more, and he stopped the topical steroids and went into withdrawal.
Where was he geographically when he did that?
He was in Canada. Yeah.
And what happened to his body?
We had the dark patches around his eyes. I wasn't there at the time when this first started, and I remember just hearing over the phone. I was traveling around, and I remember hearing over the phone that Sol's not doing well and he was a bit more ill, and he didn't want to FaceTime because I think he didn't want people to see how he was looking at that time. Maybe it was hard for him to look in the mirror himself and see what was happening to him. But when I landed back in Canada and I saw him, I remember just thinking, there's something really, really wrong here. And that's when, we both kind of threw ourselves into researching who else looks like this? What could this be? Speaking to dermatologists from all over the world and trying to get any help that we could and get any information that we could on what's going on with him. So he was red everywhere. He had the dark patches around his eyes. His eczema was worsening. It was spreading to areas he hadn't previously seen it. He was starting to crack open and have those open wounds. And then from there, it just went completely downhill to the point where he could only sleep if he was in the bathtub. And
Oh my
he
God.
had complete insomnia. He was just in chronic pain all the time. And that was a really, really hard thing to see. So I think as a sister, that's why you become so invested in trying to figure out what's going on and how to get them out of that space.
And you guys have a big family. You have multiple sisters, and
Yeah.
he's the brother.
Yeah.
I bet. Like, what was everybody saying?
It was so hard. He is such a social butterfly. He's the life and the soul of our family. Like, you know him. He's
He's
a
a gem.
fun-loving boy. And watching him go through that, it was just... I sometimes I think to myself that if it was anyone else in our family, if it was me or my sisters, we wouldn't have had the strength to go through it. But he's a really strong, very patient, very positive person. And he did so well. But for everyone else, it was really difficult. He made it easier for us only because he was so positive, and he never wanted to, play the victim and never wanted to make people worry, which is why he wasn't FaceTiming so much. And he just never wanted to be a burden on anyone either. But yeah, it's really hard as a family to watch someone who was so outgoing and so adventurous and such a social person to like then just be completely isolated and locked away from the world and have to just stop living.
So at what point did you guys decide CAP is the way to go?
Sol found Kyle through Instagram or YouTube, and recognized a lot of the symptoms that he was experiencing with Kyle as well, which is why it's so important when there's people like you who are sharing these stories, because that's how people find out what's going on with them and can find solutions. So Sol got in touch with Kyle and found out about CAP, and he initially went to the UK clinic.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, okay. He was initially at the UK clinic, and we loved those girls. And that was an amazing turning point for him, because he finally was meeting people who understood what he's going through, and for the first time we're like labeling what he's going through, and had also been through what he's going through. I think just a combination of different factors. Maybe the weather wasn't doing so well for him, and he really, at that time when he was going to the clinic in the UK, he was still living with all the family and in family houses and friends everywhere. And I think because of the state of his health, he just wanted to get away. He wanted to just move away, find somewhere where he can just be alone and focus on his health. And I think that's why when he found out about Thailand, that really appealed to him, because he can just go to this faraway land and work on himself alone and get better and be in a warm, humid climate. I think some of the doctors had told him that might help with his eczema, and it had done in the past as well. Mm-hmm. In the past, being in a warm, kind of sunny place, humid place, had usually helped his eczema as well. So that's when he decided to take a leap and go to Thailand. And
so he gets to Bangkok. Did he go with anyone?
No, he went alone. He went alone.
So what was his skin health like when he got on that plane?
Awful. Absolutely awful. He was riddled with infections. He had open wounds everywhere. He was flaking. His skin was completely cracked. He was completely inflamed and red. There's so much that we learned in Thailand that now we can retrospectively figure out like why he looked like that, because we didn't know.
Give me an example.
For example, the irritants. We didn't know about irritants. We didn't know about allergens, and how things in your environment can really cause all those things. So I think at the time we were still washing his bedding with normal laundry detergent, and obviously that was just exacerbating the condition of his skin. So many things like that. And we had family all around. We were living in a house with cats, and he's very allergic to cats now we know. It also has an effect on his skin.
I get it. Yeah. Riddled with just all the things we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, before we talk about his case further and how you feel and how you've gotten through it and lessons learned, how's your family changed what they've had to do in terms of living habits?
Yeah.
Because he's back in the UK now.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, Sol's loved by everyone, so that was easy to get people to change their lifestyle to do, because that way they know that they can see him and they can hug him and they can be with him. And so
beautiful.
So we just we had like a video call and messages to kind of educate the family on everything, and overnight everyone was like switching to fragrance free and making sure that they were careful with how they were washing their clothes. And so we have a few family homes in the UK with like cousins and aunties that Sol spends a lot of time in, and everyone's kind of like TSW safe now just so that they can have him over, which is so lovely. And even beautiful. Like all of our families have cats as well, but now like the cats have to like be outside or be in different rooms. But that's just a testament to the character he is. People want him around, and so they change their lives to have him around, which is lovely. Yeah.
What made you come here, or come to Bangkok?
So Sol came to Thailand in February of 2023, and by November, he was doing amazing. He was living life, he was traveling, he was going out, like he was almost back to normal. He was surfing, trying loads of new things, hanging out with lots of different people, had his life back. His skin looked so good. So what's that? Is that like 9-10 months?
Yeah.
So that's how like CAP took him that far. And then in December, I got a call, and he was rushed into hospital. And he just said, "Please, can you come?" And I flew straight out on a plane, dropped everything, and I got here, and he was in ICU with they thought it was bronchitis at first, and then we found out that it was actually a severe allergy attack. And when that severe allergy attack happened, he couldn't breathe, and they gave him steroids to open up his trachea. So having those steroids kind of restarted his whole TSW. It seemed to just...
He had no choice.
Yeah, he had no choice. And Jay in Thailand, he agreed that, look, it was a life or death situation. And Sol messaged him before they gave him the steroids, and there was just no other way out of it. They tried everything,
right.
But it was a life or death situation. The doctors gave him the steroids, and he's with us today, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But it did restart his TSW journey a lot, actually. And I think when you relapse and you go through the same thing a second time, you don't have the same energy that you did the first time. And it's a big mental toll to go through something again that you worked so hard to go through the first time, and you never thought you were going to be back in that place. During his second round of TSW, there was definitely points where he said that he's as bad as it was the first time. And I think from a mental point of view as well, he was saying he can't believe how bad this is. He didn't remember it being that bad, and he's back in that place. Because I think a lot of us block it out. We kind of have that trauma block in our mind.
Yeah.
And when you go through it again, you just can't believe that you went through
that.
Yeah.
But what caused this? What was the cause for him to get in hospital in the
allergy
first
attack?
place?
So we didn't know this, but he developed a really bad allergy to dust mites and cockroaches.
Right.
And of course, we've never been living with cockroaches before, but in Thailand cockroaches exist, and he was living in the same place, the same kind of hotel apartment since that February, and we never had pest control in the flat because pesticide is an irritant. So I think over the 10 months, there must have just been cockroaches building up in some of the vents around the flat. And then you have the AC on, and those kind of particles are falling on you all the time. And he was just becoming very ill with that. And I think, and then one night we had a huge cockroach fall out of our AC vent. And that's when the next day he had this huge allergy attack.
Wow.
And he was rushed straight into hospital. It was a very, very close call, and he was in ICU for a while, and he was in hospital for a few weeks after that. You have to keep an eye on your allergies, and some of your allergies can develop as new allergies, which we didn't know that he had a dust mite allergy or a cockroach allergy. His IEG levels were
through the roof.
Yeah, through the roof at that point.
Yeah. So you get there, you jump on the plane, you get there, you see him for what it is. He's released from hospital eventually.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
I think I just went into project management mode a little bit, because I was the only family member there with him, and so I'm the only person for him to lean on at that point. And so it was just kind of sorting everything out. And it was only when Sasha and Mercedes came to the hospital, and they just looked at me and gave me a big hug. And that's when I cried, because it's almost okay, now you have a safe space to just breathe a little bit and process what's going on. And we were just really scared at that point, because it was very scary, very scary.
So then talk to us a bit about that time frame. So that was what month?
Right, January 2024. Yeah.
That's right. And then started going back to CAP treatment every week.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you did at home to support him through that caregiver role?
Yeah, so he was bedridden for a long time, because his TSW just was full body again. He was oozing all over again. And so he had multiple infections. At this point, he became super susceptible to staph infections. We were dealing with staph infections every few weeks, and they were developing so extensively over his body that we had to go to hospital a few times to have IV drips of antibiotics, and the doctors were worried about him developing sepsis from it, so we had to keep on top of those infections. So at home, it was about making sure that everything, like his bed is being changed every single day. The sheets we're covering wherever he sits in the living room with sheets that are washed and cleaned every single day. We're steaming everything every single day. So my routine at home was kind of waking up, and he'd still be asleep. And so the common areas like the living room, I'd steam everything and throw everything from the living area into the wash and change it all and put it out. And then he'd wake up, and whilst he was in the shower, I'd do his room and like dust mite hoover everything and throw all of his bedding back into the wash and put it on like an allergy cycle. And then steam it all down again. And then he'd get out of the shower, and after the shower he's super duper uncomfortable, so we take a couple of hours to calm his skin down. And then finally, when his skin was calmed down, then we'd make him a breakfast that's conducive to his healing as well. So keeping an eye on diet at that time too. It was very consuming.
How long did this go on for?
This went on for about 7 months, I'd say. Yeah.
How is he now?
He's so good now.
What is the current lay of the land? Give me like a briefing. He's back in the UK. What's his current situation?
He's back in the UK. He's in his own flat where we made sure that everything was irritant free. So we had like a team of family before he arrived, who made sure like all the carpets were chucked out and all the upholstery and everything. Like, so we're dealing with his allergens and his irritants. So kicked out everything that had any sort of allergen, steamed the whole place down with like industrial steamers, had all his like anti-allergy bedding put in place, had a washer and a dryer that go all the way up to like 90 degrees put in place so that he could, live there and manage his allergens and irritants so that he can heal in that space. And I think as well, when you do return home, we have so many people in our community who are like in Thailand and they're dealing with CAP, and then when they return home, they relapse because maybe there's irritants and allergens at home. To manage everyone else, and I know that all the family and friends do a great job of trying to be allergen and irritant free and do whatever they need to around Sol, but there's kids and they go to school and everyone goes to work. So as long as he has his own safe space where he can come back to, and that place is allergen and irritant free, and he can sleep there and not wake up red in the morning, that's great, because then he can kind of live his life as long as he can come back to a safe space.
Yeah. I understand this all too well.
Yeah. Did you go through a similar thing when you went back to Canada?
I go through this regularly even now. That safe space that we create for ourselves is like our haven.
It's a haven.
I'm on the road right now doing this Bali trip, and it's lovely, but I don't have a home to go back to that's my own.
Yeah.
So even as I'm coming off my own flare, I have nowhere to just hunker down.
Yeah.
And put my air purifier in and sit there with my red light and know that I can stay here for 3 days and let this thing bounce back. Anyways, back to you.
Yeah, so we had, the air purifiers in place. We had the steam mop in place. We basically recreated the flat that we had in Thailand in the UK because I think, like you said, you develop an attachment to that space and it's a safe haven. And to leave that safe haven is so daunting. So we did everything we could to try and replicate it completely.
Love it.
Yeah, and I think that really helped.
As we sort of wind down, I wanted to ask you if there was like one big sort of pearl of wisdom that you could share as a caregiver, also that pearl of wisdom is the first one I want to ask you. And I just also want to ask you what you did for yourself to fill your cup as you navigated this. Yeah,
I think they're both very good questions. It's so hard to hunker down on one pearl of wisdom. A huge, there's a cool tip is that if you're a caregiver, you become that person's first line of defense, right? And so, there's so many people who have to go through TSW alone who don't have a caregiver in place. And those people are incredible. But if you're lucky enough to have someone else going through this journey with you, that person who doesn't have TSW is your first line of defense. So anything that's coming into the house, get them to sniff it, get them to smell everything. So I think most people who know me know the story, but Sol had some wounds on his feet and we were bandaging them, and so we ordered some bandages, and they're just normal medical bandages, and he went ahead and did it himself
off of Lazada or Grab.
But it's actually from a pharmacy. Okay. So we thought we trusted it all, and And yeah, so he bandaged himself and he broke out into awful dyshidrosis that lasted over a month because it was just like so extensive.
Can you just describe what dyshidrosis or dyshidrotic eczema is?
Yeah, it's where you get these bubbles. They kind of look like blisters on your skin, and they can be very, very itchy or very, very painful. Sols were very painful, and they were getting infected repeatedly. And yeah, so they lasted over a month, and his bubbles are like huge as well. But that could have all been avoided if I had sniffed the bandages first, and there was nothing to indicate on the box that there was anything added to these bandages. But when I sniffed them the next day, I realized that these are lightly medicated with something. And yeah, it's just like, you know, obviously, like when you think about all these things in retrospect, then you can feel so guilty about things, but you know, you live and you learn. And it was something that I was like then shared with the whole community. I was like, guys, don't use these bandages. So if I had to say something, maybe from like the trauma and the guilt I feel myself, like, please get your caregiver to sniff anything before you let it anywhere near your skin. Yeah. First line of defense.
Fantastic example, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
How did you fill your cup?
I think like just making sure that when Sol's resting and things, like I would take myself out to intentionally to grab a coffee, get out of the house, like just grab a coffee for myself, take some time alone, go and have like a nice breakfast. Just because Sol can't go out doesn't mean that I can't. So every few days, like, yeah, take myself to a coffee shop, go and explore, go for a walk. And I think at first I felt guilty doing that because I almost felt like, why would I shove it in his face that I can live my life when he can't? But
he was probably really happy that you were doing that.
Definitely. I think it made him feel like less of a burden to me if I just did do things that made me happy too. And I think, that whole, when you're a caregiver and you have someone with TSW, it becomes a very, very complicated space because there's all these like complexities between like, do they feel like a burden? And, you know, like, it's just a really messy space. Tough. Yeah. I think if I had to like give a non-physical example of a pearl of wisdom, honestly, you guys you have to stay positive. You have to make each other laugh. You have to try and find the humor in certain things as well. And I know that's hard and it's not for every day, but whenever you can, like, you do have to find the humor in things. You have to be positive. You have to celebrate the little wins, and you can't dwell on the moments that aren't so good. You know, if there's an itch attack, just move on quickly. But if, you know, one day you wake up and you shower, celebrate that. And if you,
shower and it doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you manage to like change the bed sheets yourself, like celebrate that together and like treat yourself. Get a yummy breakfast just to like celebrate the little wins.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think you have to like rebrand a lot of things on the journey too. So I remember when I first moved in with Sol to take care of him, he was like, you know, people with TSW, they flake a lot. And when that's something new to you and you're like an outsider coming in for the first time, that can be a little bit like, oh, what's this? And I think for the person with TSW, they can feel a little bit ashamed of that, and they can feel a little bit embarrassed because
your entire body is falling off.
Yeah, your entire body's falling off, and like the whole thing, everywhere you sit, there's like little crumbs of yourself, right? But instead of seeing it as like a shameful or gross thing, we just rebranded it, you know? We learned that flaking can be a really good sign. So we just started to call flakes good sign. We were like, oh, let's sweep up the good sign. And you wake up and the bed is covered in flakes. And we're like, look at all this good sign. You know, you're just like rebranding whatever you can to be positive and like try and turn the journey into, celebrating the little bits and finding the humor in things for sure. Because if you're not positive through it, that person who's going through it is already like their brain is just filled with so much negativity, and adding another person to the equation, you know, you can both affect each other's energy so much. And so just being aware of that is really key, I think.
Aisha, I think with that, I mean, I don't think there's much more to add. It was brilliant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this. Sol's story is so compelling, and he's very lucky to have a wonderful sister and family supporting his amazing journey.
He's an amazing guy.